Just a Second, A Different Way to Look at Time by Stephen Jenkins. Read to you by Tom Jacobs. A second goes by quickly. In fact, several have passed since you started reading this sentence. And they just keep going by. There are 60 seconds in every minute, 3,600 in every hour, and on and on. Most people reading this book will experience more than 2.5 billion seconds in their lifetime. But a lot can happen in a second. Some surprising, even amazing, things can take place in a very short time. Other events unfold more slowly. And that's what this book is about. In 1 second, a vulture in flight flaps its wings once. A pygmy shrew's heart beats 14 times. The second doesn't relate to any cycle in nature. It's a human invention, and the shortest interval of time most of us use in our daily lives. The Babylonians came up with the idea of a second about 4,000 years ago, but they had no way to measure such a short interval of time. In 1 second, a bat can make 200 high-pitched calls. A hummingbird beats its wings 50 times. A bumblebee beats its wings 200 times. A midge, a kind of gnat, beats its wings 1,000 times. A rattlesnake shakes its tail in warning 60 times. A woodpecker hammers a tree trunk with its beak 20 times. In 1 second, a black mama slithers a frightening 24 feet, or 7 meters. A cheetah sprinting flat out, and a sailfish swimming at top speed, both travel 100 feet, or 30 meters. A dragonfly in flight cruises 50 feet, or 15 meters. In 1 second, a peregrine falcon in a dive, or a stoop, plunges more than 300 feet, 91 meters. A stone dropped from rest falls 16 feet, or 5 meters. A jet-powered thrust SSC covered 1,119 feet, or 341 meters, while setting the land speed record. A commercial jet at cruising altitude covers about 800 feet, or 244 meters. The Helios satellite zoomed 43.5 miles, 70 kilometers. This is the fastest man-made object has ever traveled. In 1 second, a meteor entering Earth's atmosphere can travel 44 miles, or 71 kilometers. A howler monkey's deafening scream travels 1,125 feet, or 343 meters. A humpback's song travels 1,085 feet, or 1,000 550 meters through the water. A human can blink 7 times in 1 second. That's interesting. And in 1 second, light travels 186,000 miles, or 300,000 kilometers. And in 1 second, somewhere, 4 babies are born, and 2 people die somewhere in the world. And in 1 second, 1,500 chickens are killed. That's too bad. The Apollo 10 spacecraft traveled almost 7 miles, 11 kilometers, during re-entry, the fastest humans have traveled in a man-made vehicle. So that's the fastest they've gone, is 7 miles in a second. That is amazing. The male manakin rubs its wingtips together more than 100 times, creating a sound like a note played on a violin. 100 times in a second. That's amazing too. And then Earth travels 18.5 miles, 30 kilometers, in its orbit around the sun. So in 1 second, we're traveling 18.5 miles. In 1 minute, a person walking at a brisk pace covers 300 feet, or 91 meters. A 3-toed sloth hauls itself 10 feet, 3 meters. A giant tortoise lumbers about 15 feet, 4.5 meters. And in 1 minute, a common snail slides about 1 foot, 30 centimeters, in its slimy track. The minute, like the second, isn't based on any natural cycle. The 60 minutes in an hour, like the 60 seconds in a minute, are based on a Babylonian counting system that was in use thousands of years ago. In 1 day, a giant anteater can lap up 30,000 termites. That's a lot. Chickens around the world lay 2 billion eggs. Kelp, a kind of seaweed, can grow 18 inches, 48 centimeters. A mayfly larva hatches, lives its entire life, and dies in 1 day. The world's population increases by 215,000 people. 382,000 are born, and 165,000 die. The day is based on the rising and the setting of the sun, the time it takes the Earth to make 1 revolution on its axis. The day is the original unit of timekeeping in every human culture. In 1 day, a female flea can lay 100 eggs. The population of India increases by 47,000 people. An adult human heart beats about 100,000 times. A bamboo can grow 36 inches, 91 centimeters. And in 1 day, 50 new species of plants, animals are identified. but another 150 species go extinct, most because of human activity. And in one day, people use the equivalent of 200 billion sheets of letter-sized paper. In 1 week, a migrating bar-tailed godwit flies 5,500 miles, or 8,851 kilometers. Never heard of a godwit before. A ladybug can consume more than 500 aphids in a week. That's pretty good. And in a week, the International Space Station orbits Earth 110 times. And in 1 week, human development destroys an area of the forest equal to the size to 550,000 football fields. Well, that's not very good. Over the ages, people found it useful to have a unit of time longer than a day, but shorter than a month, what we call a week. Weeks have varied in length from 3 to 20 days. Our 7-day week originated in Babylonia around 2,500 years ago. In 1 week, a monarch butterfly on its annual migration flies 700 miles, or 1,127 kilometers. There are as many as 8,000 earthquakes strong enough to be felt. Fewer than 3, on average, are powerful enough to do serious damage. In 1 week, 2 mice, a male and female, meet and mate. We'll check in with them again soon. A moose antlers, the fastest growing tissue of any mammal, can add 6 inches to their length. And in a week, a giant pumpkin can grow 150 pounds. After the day, a month may be the oldest human unit of timekeeping. A month on our calendar is roughly based on the time it takes the moon to go through a full cycle of its phases, about 29.5 days. More than 700 new species of insects will be named. The hair on a human head grows a half inch, 1¼ centimeters. 4,400,000 new cars leave the factory. Our 2 mice had an average litter, 10 babies. There are now 12 mice. And in a month, 84,000 new books are published. Wow, that's a lot. In 1 month, human fingernails grow 1/8 of an inch, or 3 millimeters. People around the world produce enough trash to fill a square pit more than 1 mile on a side and 1,200 feet deep. That's awful. A migrating gray whale can cover 2,500 miles on the open ocean. The world's human population increases by about 6,556,000 people. That's 11,616,000 are born, and 5,000,000 60,000 die. And finally, a eucalyptus tree can grow 30 inches. In 1 year, an estimated 50 people are killed by sharks. More than 2 million people are killed by mosquito-borne diseases. The moon moves 1.5 inches farther away from Earth. An Arctic tern flies 40,000 miles, the longest migration in the animal world. Mount Everest rises a half an inch. The year is based on the time it takes for the Earth to make one full circuit of the Sun. Along with the day and the month, the year is one of the 3 basic units of time shared by people throughout history. In 1 year, global warming causes a sea level rise of about 1/8 of an inch. Seafloor spreading moves the United States 1 inch away from Europe. And then light travels 6 trillion miles. This is 1 light year, 6 trillion miles. And in 1 year, there are 78,670,000 more people on Earth. And in 1 year, a termite queen will lay about 3 million eggs. And then looking over here, humans cut down 4 billion, I think that's 4 billion trees. That's a lot of trees. And then remember our mice? If all of the offspring of our original pair of mice survived and mated, the 2 rodents would now have more than 1 million living descendants, all in 1 year. Very quick. A housefly can spot danger and take off in 1/10 of a second. Light travels a distance equal to the length of the Earth's equator in 1/7 of a second. A puff adder can strike and return to a coil position in less than a half a second. Dolphins can see using sound by making a series of clicks, each one as short as 1/600th of a second, and listening to the echoes. In our universe, some things, such as light traveling across a room, happen much too quickly for us to notice. Science has given us the ability to measure many of these very fast events, even if we can't experience them directly. Here are a few more very quick things. The human brain can register a finger touching something in 1/100th of a second. A fastball makes the trip from a Major League Baseball pitcher's hand to home plate in less than 4/10ths of a second. A trap-jaw ant snaps its jaws shut in 1/800th of a second, the fastest movement in the animal world. The Shasta salamander, an amphibian with the world's fastest tongue, can snap up an insect in 1/100th of a second. Now we have a few things that are very long. On a human timescale, some events occur very rarely. Others seem to take place at an impossibly slow pace. Counting one number every second, it would take more than 31,000 years to count to 1 trillion. A French woman lived to 122 years old. She holds the record for human lifespan. It would take 80,000 years for a spacecraft to reach the nearest star outside our solar system. A voyage across our galaxy would last almost 2 trillion years. An object the size of the asteroid that may have killed off the dinosaurs collides with our planet about once every 100 million years. Observing the most distant galaxies is like peering into the distant past. We are seeing them as they were more than 13 billion years ago. Now, a few other events or things that take a very long time. The sun will get larger and hotter. In 1 billion years, Earth will be too hot to support life as we know it. 2 billion years from now, Earth's oceans will have boiled away. At least that's a long time from now. An ocean quahog, a clam, lived to be 405 years old, an animal world record. A koi, a kind of goldfish, lived to 226 years old. The oldest living organism we know of, a bristlecone pine in California, is more than 4,862 years old. By the year 2100, it is predicted that the sea levels worldwide will have risen about 19 inches. Now let's take a little walk through the history of our universe. This really is a timeline, so even though it's curving, it shows a timeline of our universe and the history of it. Our universe started with the Big Bang 13.7 billion years ago. And then a little after that, first stars started to form. And look how long it took until our sun and our Earth formed, about 4.6 billion years ago. And then some more time went on, and another billion years, life appeared. And then some more times going on, and then a lot of things starts to appear. Multicellular life, about 1 million years ago, 1.2 million years ago, and then plant life, and then a lot of things happened at the very end, close to our time. A lot of different things happened. You just take a look of all the things that have happened recently, and how many years ago they are. So this shows Earth's human population from this time to this time. Is that 300 years? About 300 years showing over here, broken in by 50 years, is it? Yeah, every 50 years. And it shows how it's growing, and then you can see the green here, I guess, relates to this green. The red relates to this red. Where are we? Are we this, I guess? Maybe right up here? And then how many people? This is the population by area. And just take a look at how that's growing. Okay. Here is a different way to look at time. So this is lifespans. How long do plants and animals live? This is a um, 2 pages, so you have to look on this page and the next page, so it continues on the next page. But I want you to notice that the mayfly only lives 30 minutes to a day. Housefly, maybe 15 days. And then it keeps on going this way, even onto the next page, and then you come back here and you look at, well, there's a lot of animals in here that live, what is it, 8 to 30 years. Okay. Then you get down here, and this is 1,000 years, or maybe 800 to 1,000 years. Then there's 2,000 years for what that is. I can't see what that is. Then we can look over here again, above here. This is 10 years. So monarch butterfly can go 8 years. That's amazing that a monarch, oh, that's 4 weeks to 8 months. These are some still months up here. So this is 8 months, 10 months, 1 year. A bumblebee lasts. Okay, but then you're coming down to years here. Elephant 65. Humans average about 69 years. I think that might be a little bit more now. And then whales, lobsters, all the way to 4,000 years for that bristlecone pine. And just look at the history of time and timekeeping, some important dates. You just scan those, and you can always pause the video and look at this a little bit longer. I hope you enjoyed Just a Second, A Different Way to Look at Time by Steve Jenkins, and read to you by Tom Jacobs.